Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of the Geeking Out podcast. I am the Athletic Geek, and I am joined this week by Easy.
Hey yo.
Hey, yo, and well, this week it is at the time of this recording. WrestleMania is this weekend, and we are going to list our top 10 favorite WrestleManias.
I
Uh,
thought we were talking about Wrestle Kingdom. You tricked me. I'm just kidding.
well, I mean, maybe in January we can do Wrestle
Maybe.
Kingdom.
I'll just need to watch some Wrestle Kingdom.
Yeah, I suggest starting with one. Um,
Ooh.
Actually, it's kind of they're just watch them all. They're all anyway.
I've seen
This
highlights, so I'll give myself credit for that.
the highlights don't do them justice. Just like in some cases, the highlights don't do these WrestleManias justice. And there have been so far 37 of these bad boys.
Some
And
great and some we want to forget about.
yes, but we're going to talk about the ones that we enjoyed the most, starting with Easy at number 10.
All right. So for my number 10, it was actually going to be my number 1, but it would have been probably a very, very controversial pick. So I thought, you know what? After looking through the match card, I thought maybe it's best to be at number 10. And it's WrestleMania 20. The last WrestleMania to ever be at Madison Square Garden. And I still kind of think for at some point, I know WrestleMania has been getting bigger with the stadium shows, but uh WrestleMania like 20, honestly, like while the matches itself like were actually like pretty cool, rather except for one boring Goldberg Brock Lesnar match. What most people honestly best remember for it is the ending. And yes, a certain somebody we are not going to say in this recording did something very horrific. The ending still just made the whole show just very, no, it's a really incredible feel good moment that sadly we're never ever going to see again. So at Eddie Guerrero, Kurt Angle, they had a great match, and the Undertaker returning with Paul Bearer as well, fighting Kane. Like that's just incredible. Now, the rest of the card, like I guess, like looking back on it, like it's okay-ish in a way, but still, for the ending at least, I would say like it definitely pops up on like the best feel good moments of the WWE.
I can get behind that. And we'll just stay tuned. My
Mm-hmm.
number 10 is one that I think is actually somewhat of an underrated WrestleMania as a whole, and that is WrestleMania 12.
Hmm.
So, I mean, this one is known basically just for the main event, which is honestly not even. Despite the two people involved, and despite it being the first title win of my all-time favorite wrestler, it's not one of my favorite matches of all time. Like, but still, the Iron Man match that whether you think it's overrated or you think it's the greatest thing ever, it was the main event of this WrestleMania. But on the flip side, it had so much other stuff going for it. It was the WrestleMania debut of Stone Cold Steve Austin and Triple H, with Austin wrestling Savio Vega and Triple H in the squash match against the returning Ultimate Warrior. But it had other things on there that I thought were really really good too. I mean, you had Diesel versus the Undertaker in probably one of Diesel slash Kevin Nash's best matches in his career. Good Haas fight between the two of them. You had uh, Goldust versus Roddy Piper in what would essentially be the precursor to what we see as cinematic matches today with the Hollywood Backlot Brawl. I mean, you know, what is it like? Is it the goat of WrestleMania? Is absolutely not. But I feel like it earned a spot in my top 10. And something you're gonna come as much of an old school guy as I am, you're gonna see that there's not a lot of old school WrestleManias on my list just because it wasn't until later years that they really started treating WrestleMania as more of a spectacle, and this was one of those years.
Yeah, same on my end, where it's like I was looking through like every WrestleMania, just seeing how good they are. Like even the crappy ones too. And I thought like there's gotta be at least one significant moment in there. I was almost thinking putting in 12 in there, but I feel like is it really a great WrestleMania if only one match made it significant?
Well, I don't feel like it
So
was to me. But that's the thing. I don't. I feel like there was more than one match that made it significant.
yeah.
I feel that Piper Goldust, the WrestleMania debut of Austin, um, you know,
Hmm.
Diesel and Taker, all of those things. It was a really short card because this is before the days of 12-hour WrestleManias or 2-night WrestleManias, so they had a short card to make time for Shawn and Brett having 60 plus minutes, but still, I think
Yeah.
it's worthy of a spot on the card.
All right. So for my number 9, some would say this was actually one of the greatest WrestleManias ever. Simply because it was the first ever stadium show. Well, yep. If the clues are obvious, WrestleMania 3 is my number 9. Now
Oh,
here's the thing. Like,
I'm just gonna split right now. That is also my number 9.
hey, what do you know? We can talk about it together.
Yes.
Okay. So for me, honestly, like this kind of as I'm like looking over the wiki here is like, yeah, some people they consider this like the pinnacle to the boom that wrestling had in the 80s. And I'll give them credit where it's due. In a disputed 93,000 fans that they had in the stadium, this is still something that was amazing to be a part of, for those who were there. And I guess like depending on like who you ask, some consider like, oh, it's just so memorable because it was set in the big stadium there. And whereas like most of the time WrestleMania has been either held in small arenas, baseball stadiums, Caesar's Palace, or nowadays in football stadiums. But obviously, when you think about WrestleMania 3, you obviously got to talk about the main event, which if we were doing like WrestleMania main events specifically, this would definitely be in my, no pun intended, my number 3. Because when you kind of like look back and watch it, it kind of just looked like Andre was just throwing Hogan around like a rag
See,
doll. And then
that's kind of the
again, yeah, kind of the
there's two
point
ways of
because
looking at that.
Andre's
There's
the
two
big
ways of
guy.
looking at that main event, though. It's kind of like good for the spectacle, but
Yeah,
it
but
really
there
was.
was
It was not the best wrestling match. I'm not going to go be like Dave Meltzer and say it's like -5 stars,
no,
but there was so many
no.
miscues in that match,
If I'll be
and you
honest,
can
like
tell on.
it would definitely be like a 3.5. Like if Hogan had not lifted Andre, like it would probably have just been like a
To me,
lackluster
it was the
match.
epitome of wrestling isn't always about star ratings; it's about significance and moments, and
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
because Andre was in a lot of pain and couldn't do much, and
Mm-hmm.
Hulk was limited as it is, and like was even more limited with Andre.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that
And also there was one other awesome match as well, Steamboat versus Savage for
yes,
the Intercontinental Championship. Like honestly, if anything, that could probably
arguably
be
the
your
great.
match of the night.
It did. It was match of the night for sure. Um,
Yeah,
it's arguably the best match in WrestleMania
yeah,
history. I mean,
yeah.
there's people that consider it that, and I'm not gonna
And
say they're off base for that belief.
also, like Hogan's entrance, honestly, for WrestleMania 3, I would kind of consider like one of the best ones ever. Just seeing him walk down, you have Real American blaring everywhere, and if I'm not mistaken, I think he was like had a giant 3x5 flag with him. Just hey, well, he's a real American. He's the wrestling hero here. So
The other
it's
other match that I think goes under the radar was Roddy Piper and Adrian Adonis. I mean, it was a build as Roddy Piper's last match, but we all know how that goes. But still, Roddy Piper was Roddy Piper. Other than Hulk Hogan, was the man then. So
yeah.
all right, well, so that is our
I
number
just
9.
realized there. weren't any women's matches in this one.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. But
Well, I
anyways,
don't know. Moolah was controlling the women then, so who
yeah.
knows? Who knows? What is your number 8?
All right, my number 8 goes to WrestleMania 33. This one, like, it actually kind of is like a fan favorite of mine. Just the entire match card was just pretty amazing, and especially I was watching this in my dorm room, and I actually did like post like my reaction to the Hardys coming back, and a lot of people were thinking like, oh, wait a minute, there's a small rumor the Hardys coming back, and no, that ladder match just delivered like crazy. And if had the Hardys not come back, and sadly seeing this, I had Enzo and Big Cass as my picks to win the tag titles. But anyways, but also I thought if I had to take a quick guess on who I think were the mystery partners, I was thinking DIY. I don't know why. They were just the first people to pop into my head. It's like, I don't know, Gargano, Ciampa, why not?
Yeah.
But the entire pay-per-view was just amazing. Minus how the ending of it was. I was actually like more impressed with the women's matches. It was awesome. Like the 4-way between Bailey, Charlotte, Nia, and Banks was epic. Bailey retaining, which that was amazing, and a returning Naomi to win the SmackDown Women's Championship was also like pretty outstanding, and especially like back from injury. One match that I'm still low key kind of pissed with because seriously, the wrong man won for this. Randy Orton versus Bray Wyatt. Bray
Yeah.
should have retained. I'm sorry, I was not happy with that. I mean, good for Orton, like, winning, but it was still like actually an okay match. I just did not understand the whole the cut scenes to the worms in the ring, and like, okay. I know Bray's supposed to be like the possessive cult leader, but there's also a point of the match where it's a little bit random to be doing that. So
I think you're also forgetting to talk about probably the best match of the night, which is the match that opened the show. AJ Styles and Shane McMahon tore the fuck up, and
oh, absolutely.
and then also
Of
Seth
all the
and
match,
Triple H was also pretty damn good on the card as well.
yeah. Again, it's just like there's so much to talk about, so I'm just like literally just picking out some of my favorite ones. And yeah, Kevin Owens, Chris Jericho, great match as well. But yeah, for AJ Shane, that is definitely one where Shane still got it, especially a year prior when he fell from the top of Hell in a Cell, and Michael Cole trying to put in his inner JR freakout. It's like, yeah, don't do that. And we could clearly tell you were reading off something. Whereas JR literally thought Mankind died. But anyways, yeah, my number 8 is WrestleMania 33.
My number 8 is not 33, but it is one that I know you're very familiar with. It is the only WrestleMania I've ever been to, WrestleMania 35.
Ooh, I have that as my.
Well,
I have that.
no. Wait.
Right,
It's higher
ahead.
on your list. It's higher on your list. We'll get to that.
Yes. Okay. Well,
WrestleMania
you got your
35.
point of view, and I got mine.
I thought it was a good show. I thought there's a lot of matches that really delivered. Seth and Brock, despite officially only being 3 minutes, was pretty damn good. AJ and Orton, great match. One of the best, maybe either the second or third best match I'd ever seen in person happened, and that was Daniel Bryan and Kofi Kingston. Just you had a lot of really good stuff on the card. You had a lot of entertaining things that happened. What hurts it for me is it was just so long. And maybe it was better watching it from home in that sense, but for me there were so many things I missed because I'm just like, okay, I'm tired. I need to get up and take a break. I need to get up and walk around. I need to do something else right now. But
and let's also not add the fact that it took hours trying to get out because it ended so late.
Yeah, and the city of New Jersey did not know how to. Whatever. Yeah, I was fortunate. I was staying with someone in the area, and I called them and said, "Can you just come and pick us up?"
Actually, it's funny. So, and I'll probably touch up on my end as well. But my best friend that I was staying with, she had to come pick me up, but she also made a quick $20 picking up these two guys that were trying to get back to their hotel. So it was like, okay, yeah, hop in, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was sad. I had to. Yeah, if Kim's listening, I'm sorry. I love you, Pookie. Miss you. But it was still like a great experience. But just getting out of there, unless you were literally within walking distance, it was not fun trying to get out.
No.
Yeah,
Um.
but I'll savor for my point of view when I was there.
Um. So yeah, that was that, and the other downside is maybe I would have appreciated it more had I not done so much stuff that weekend already. I mean, I went to the
Yeah.
WrestleCon Super Show on Thursday. I did Rev Pro and NXT on Friday, along with going to WrestleCon to meet people. Meet Minoru
And then we had
Suzuki.
G1 Supercard.
Yeah, it was a okay. That
Well, I loved it. I know a certain people kind of ruined it, but that's a
I'm
whole
just
other
saying
story.
well that's a whole other story. Basically, everybody bought tickets to that thinking it was going to be part two to All In, and it was basically um a show. Yeah, it just wasn't. It was the most.
I enjoyed it without Kenny or the Bucks being there.
Not saying it was a bad show. I'm just saying compared to everything else I went to that weekend,
Yeah.
compared to NXT the night before, compared to the Super WrestleCon Super Show on Thursday, compared to all the other things I did that weekend, that's kind of very, very low on the list. But I think that kind of, I was already like exhausted going into a 7 hour WrestleMania, and then there's the 7 hour WrestleMania. You got to recognize the main
Yeah.
event as well. With
If they had made 35 a 2-night event, it would
it could have
be
been better,
way
yes.
higher on the list.
I can agree with that. I got to recognize the main event.
I would have loved to have like NXT takeover at MetLife Stadium, but
the
it's
finish
whatever.
of the main event hurt the match, and it's not Becky's fault. It was still an amazing moment, an amazing thing to
Yeah, I'm gonna
experience.
have my opinion on it too, and it's not pretty.
But yeah, still, I think worthy. Maybe a small personal bias there, but um, I think it's worthy of my top 10. And yeah,
Yeah. All right.
number
So
7.
now number 7. Wait, I thought we were already talking about 7. Oh, never mind. Never mind. Sorry, I read it wrong. All right. So my number 7, you would probably think it's higher on the list for where it was, but it's WrestleMania 18 as my number 7. So, okay. Well, again, first of all, a WrestleMania in Toronto is amazing, and had I been introduced to wrestling at the time, or if I had somebody in the family who was into it like I was, I definitely could have been here. But because it happened in 2002, like I remember a lot of things, but I did not remember this sadly because again I was shielded from the violence. But anyways, just when you look at this and just all the matches that were happening, it was just epic here. So you, firstly, like you had Rob Van Dam become Intercontinental Champion. You had DDP taking on Christian for the European Championship. I would really need some questions about the Maven Goldust ending with Spike Dudley pinning.
They did well. This is on my list. So I won't tell you
Impromptu?
where. It was on the 24/7 hardcore is the 24/7 rule. So they just basically the whole night had like
Ah,
people winning the hardcore title. Like Spike Dudley won it, and then the Hurricane won it, and then Molly Holly won it, and then Christian won it, and then Maven won it to end out the night. So it's kind of like one of those.
weird things. Okay. And then Undertaker taking on Ric Flair. I think that's probably like definitely an underrated Taker match. Taking on the Nature Boy, which that honestly feels like that should have happened like maybe in the 90s, not in 2002, but either way, that's still
Paths
incredible.
weren't crossing then.
Hmm?
Flair was in WCW for most of that time.
That is true. Let's get paid.
He was only around for one
Yeah.
WrestleMania, and he was doing something else there.
Yeah.
So
That's fair. Anyways, and Stone Cold taking on Scott Hall. It's just one of those things you got to see. Now, the one thing I do have to dispute here is I know that you're for your main event, it's got to be like a world championship. But The Rock Hogan should have been your main event. Like, I know the other matches we have Jazz taking on Trish Stratus and Lita. Like, that's, again, one of those matches you got to see. And, of course, Triple H taking on Chris Jericho for the Undisputed WWF Championship. But when you picture WrestleMania 18, the one thing that really stands out is just Rock Hogan. Like, I don't know what else could possibly, you know, after that match, it's like one of those things. It's like, what else is next? I feel like the audience is already completely drained from just seeing, two icons completely clash. Like one that was representing the golden era, one that's representing the attitude era. Like, and I kind of also hate saying this too, but it's like this Mania could have been your Austin Hogan match. But
Well,
in no disrespect to The Rock, it
Austin
could
didn't
have
want to
been,
do it.
or it could have been not WrestleMania 19, but anyways, and 19's not on my list, sorry to say. But
It's on
again,
mine.
Rock, sorry, not Hawk, Rock and Hogan is just, it definitely ranks as like one of the best WrestleMania matches of all time. So, and definitely better than the Cena Rock shit shows that we needed.
Well, it was also
No
better than
disrespect.
Jericho and Triple H. They're not
Exactly.
necessarily better, but like the fans were too
But again,
exhausted.
this
The
was like,
fans were too exhausted from all
yeah,
doing everything.
yeah,
So
it was the 10th match of the night too. So it's like, again, this should have been your main event. And then you would have Scott Hall, Kevin Nash like going after Hogan, and then The Rock and those two like kind of like teaming up, or Rock saving Hogan. That if that is how WrestleMania 18 would have ended, this would have been number one on my list. Not just because it was in Toronto, but of just two historic icons really clashing and just coming together from two different eras. Like, it's just incredible. And this was also just, I guess, like the resurrection to Hulk Hogan being liked by fans again. Not saying that he wasn't already, but it was just the energy and the fans that, honestly, the fans kind of steal the show for just getting that excitement out there. So, WWE, if you want to win me back, can we please get WrestleMania back in Canada, please? Or especially if you want the best crowd ever, go to Montreal. Although they would have to fix Olympic Stadium, but that's a whole other story.
yeah. Um. All right. So my number 7 is the very first wrestling event I remember seeing, WrestleMania 10, and that is completely with bias. I mean, it was a good card. Wasn't a great card, but it was a good card. You had Brett and Owen to start the show, brother versus brother with the big upset. You had the historic ladder match with Shawn and Razor. And, those were kind of like the only two matches that still kind of hold up today, unfortunately. But there's still a lot of stuff to be proud of on this card. Um, the continuation of the Brett Owen rivalry with Brett winning the title at the very end of the show. Macho Man's last WrestleMania ever, and while the match ended up not going according to plan, uh, no fault of Macho Man's in that match. Just there's a bias because it's my first wrestling memory, but I don't think it's unfair to say that it's that good. It's worthy of a spot like that. It was the very first WrestleMania without Hulk Hogan, and other than like it didn't. WrestleMania itself didn't lose a step after Hogan left. I mean, granted, there was the booking of the mid '90s wasn't the greatest, but I don't think that the quality of that show really was of any less quality than most other previous WrestleManias. So, for introducing me to pro wrestling and on the back of two solid matches, I think it's worthy of my number 7.
All right. All right. So for number 6, I got WrestleMania Pornhub. I'm sorry, WrestleMania 30. You see what I did there?
Pornhub.
So the 3 X's, XXX.
Okay.
There we go. Learn your Roman numerals, you silly Mark. So now, before, like, when I was like putting together this list, I was actually like low-key thinking, hold up, of all the years before they finally came to New Orleans, why the hell have they not done a WrestleMania at the Superdome? Like, come on, it's a beautiful stadium, my God, and also go Saints. But WrestleMania 30, like, it is remembered for so many things that have just happened. Like, for again, it's a great match card you had, and Daniel Bryan basically trying to fight his way to putting himself in the World Heavyweight Championship match, and then you got the Shield taking on Kane and the New Age Outlaws, which again, just good matches that you got to look at. Cesaro winning the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royale. John Cena, Bray Wyatt, the wrong man won. So again, just because he's super John Cena doesn't mean he has to win every freaking match out there. But yeah, the Miracle on Bourbon Street, again, it's definitely like one of those feel good moments that's like, holy crap, we could always talk about Chris Jericho beating The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin in one night to win the World Championship. Well, you got Daniel Bryan beating the entirety of Evolution minus Ric Flair to win the World Heavyweight Championship. And then, of course, we get to the one match that everybody freaking remembers. And it was that incredible Vicky Guerrero invitational match for the DV's champion. I'm kidding, of course. Uh, Brock Lesnar and The Undertaker, and this being Taker's first loss, and everyone just in shell shock. And frankly, for me, it's like, at some point Taker's streak was going to be broken, but I'm still just wondering, Brock Lesnar of all people, like, I didn't watch Mania because I just wasn't one person who wanted to, pirate the stream, but who go figure. But when I was reading the Twitter reactions, and my first thought was like, I'm sorry, they did what? So I was actually just a little bit pissed off because it's like, look, I don't mind Brock Lesnar and all, but it's like, I don't think he was the guy that should have ended the streak. In a perfect world, but hey, at least we would have signed him eventually to Survivor Series. This should have been your Undertaker Sting Mania, and Sting winning and beating the streak.
Okay, Sting shouldn't have. Nah, I'm gonna have to disagree with you there, but I do. The match should have
Really?
happened, but I don't think if you're gonna have the streak get ended, I don't think you should have somebody like Sting who's not. At least Brock Lesnar, they use the streak to make him what he
Well,
is.
he's already a powerhouse because it's Brock freaking
So why does
Lesnar.
Sting need to? Sting's like in his late 50s and isn't like. I mean,
Sting Undertaker has been the dream match that everybody's
yeah,
been
but
begging
why
for,
does
much
Sting
like
have?
Austin Hogan.
But why does Sting
And
have
again,
to win?
or hell, you know what? This could have been Bray Wyatt versus the Undertaker. Like, come on, two demons in the voodoo capital of the world. Like, what is there not to already picture there? But anyways, well, we would have that for Mania 31, but that's kind of my lackluster Undertaker match. But I think this, just in my personal opinion, because you know what, hang on, he's never gotten any sort of title shots after this, anyways. He just shows up when WWE needs a money booster. But this honestly should have been Undertaker's last match. Like, he's got nothing else to prove. They just ended the streak, so I don't understand why he would go on to fight more Mania matches when it's like there's really nothing more for him to, gain. So, but yeah, so that long rant. My number 6 is WrestleMania 30.
All right. Well, my number 6 is WrestleMania 31.
Mm.
Starts off with a great ladder match with Daniel Bryan winning the Intercontinental Championship. Wrong person won, but it was Sting's first WrestleMania, Sting's only WrestleMania, and it's still, other than it being daylight, it was still a sight to behold to see Sting walking to the ring at a WrestleMania. So that was really cool. The Rusev John Cena match was awesome. It was this was the beginning of me no longer disliking John Cena and actually starting to really realize, oh yeah, John Cena's pretty fucking good. So all that, and then yeah, Rollins and Orton. I'm not really a big Randy Orton fan, but the the RKO spot. You can't deny that was cool. And finally, the main event got saved by Seth Rollins and the heist of the century. I was dreading the main event for so long because I was just
I think
really,
everybody was.
yeah, it's there was so much left on the table for Daniel Bryan, and then now, I'm like, okay, well, this sucks, and then Seth Rollins just coming in and pretty much
But
saving it for all of us
on
was
that topic, there,
amazing.
Orton and Rollins honestly had a damn good match.
Yeah.
Like, well, regardless of like, obviously you hate Orton and all, but it's like they had a damn good match.
Um,
Yeah, and
Undertaker.
yeah, saying Triple H, the wrong man won, but seeing DX in the NWO fights
See,
was,
I marked out when it happened, and I like
oh
it.
my
Like
god.
it's really cool to see that, but it's one of those things in
And
retrospect. Like this
I,
makes no sense. Why would the NWO help Sting?
I don't know. It's I just
That's one thing. Like
I literally had like
when it happened, I was excited, and then I realized, like, wait a minute, that didn't make any fucking sense.
the same stammering reaction as Michael Cole, like the new world order, and I was marking out with this as well. I was like, what is my watching? Why? I love it, but just this is amazing. I don't know. Maybe it's like one of those things where it's like we're putting aside everything, and DX is trying to beat
It's
you, but I will say, like, even after that match,
Sting's
Sting,
biggest storyline was trying to stop the NWO, so I don't
yeah,
understand why they'd help him. But like, I mean, it was still a
but
cool
no,
moment.
Sting and Triple H's like handshake at the end. Honestly, that was just a good show for two guys that were just the poster boys of their respected eras back then.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't without its flaws, and it's something that definitely, if a few things would have been cleaned up on it, it could have been higher up on the list. But you know, it don't really have a whole hell of a lot to complain about with that one, except for a few minor issues. And Undertaker Bray Wyatt, it was still a good match. It was kind of um,
One of
under
those that
Undertaker after losing the streak was kind of like Jordan with the Wizards, but still, it was what it
also
was.
the match could have been better if it was the penultimate main event, because it was still like broad daylight and it just looked really awkward of both Bray and Undertaker coming out in complete and total lightness. Like, I know they're in San Fran, different time zone, but again, by the time the main event was happening, it was finally getting dark. So again, that could have been your penultimate main event. Let me see what was the penultimate event. It was oh, what do I know? It was the penultimate. Damn it! It's been so long.
Yeah.
Damn it. Okay, forget everything I just said.
All right. Well, let's not forget what you said because we're now down to the top 5.
Top 5. So in my number 5 was a Mania we just talked about, WrestleMania 35. So now you get to hear my experience. So firstly, even before getting in, I was actually getting booed because I was wearing, and I have no shame in doing this, I was wearing a Winnipeg Jets jersey. So for a stadium home to the New York Jets, well, I was wearing the real Jets that can win games, my Winnipeg Jets.
How many cups have the? Well, I'm asking seriously. How many championships have the Winnipeg Jets won?
Not sure. How does it feel still being the greatest one-hit wonder of the NFL? Anyways, so, and by the way, we have won 3 championships. It was in a different league. So, anyways, yeah, you can consider the WHA the WCW of hockey. It had its moments, and then they fucked up. But anyways, so frankly, like, I was almost gonna make this higher, but I thought, yeah, the top 5 is just me being generous because I have a little bit of a rant about the main event. But anyways, the pre-show matches minus the Memorial Battle Royale, they were actually damn good. Like Tony Nese winning the Cruiserweight Championship, Carmella winning the Women's Battle Royale, which, it was going to be the fabulous Moolah match until Dark Side of the Ring said, hold my beer. And Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder winning the Raw Tag Team Championships. I think that was basically
that was a cool
great
moment.
match. for a pre-show. Like, come on. Yeah. But the first match to kick off Mania is like, okay. Seth Rollins taking on Brock Lesnar, and he would just squish him in 2.5 minutes. And it was like, okay, yay, Rollins won. And it was like, why was that the first match? What the
I
hell?
liked it being the first. I thought that was great. Like I was the
I don't
story,
know.
the promo that made it make sense. Like that being the first
I
match, like
know.
just made
But
everything like that. That was perfect. That was good booking. I will say that
yeah,
much.
but AJ Orton also was a pretty good match. Had it or also not been an issue where there were some fans that were being blinded literally by the lights before the weekend made it a thing. Uh, Tag team, SmackDown Tag Team Champions. It was Usos, Aleister Black, Ricochet, Rusev, Nakamura in the bar. That was okay-ish, just one of those tag matches. Shane versus The Miz was amazing.
Now this was
Like
the
I
one.
was
This
actually,
is one of the ones because it was so long. I missed this one.
I loved it.
I said I
And
had to get up. I had to do something.
oh yeah, okay. And I don't think I ever had tears of joy with the women's tag match, just seeing the Iconics win it. I was actually screaming my head off, thinking, holy shit, yes, yes.
That was my
And then
other.
a few years later, you blew it. You blew it.
That's a,
Damn you all to hell.
that was my other match. Well, another match where I just like I can't
Yeah.
do this one. I got to get up and I got to
No,
get up and walk around.
yeah. Now, controversially saying this, I was kind of low key cheering for Daniel Bryan in the Kofi match. This is like, I don't know. It's just like, is WWE really going to get our hopes up that much for Kofi to actually win the WWE Championship? Which, he did. And honestly, I was happy for him. I wasn't like crying like, some fans probably did. But still, it's like, I'll give it credit where it's due. It was great. Samoa Joe Mysterio, it happened. Roman Reigns, Drew McIntyre should never have happened. Triple H Batista could have been better.
Too long.
Baron Corbin, yeah. Baron shocking us with him beating Kurt Angle.
That's
That was
something
like,
else
wait,
I didn't mention last time. I didn't want it to be a Baron Corbin match, but as a huge Kurt Angle fan, getting to see his last match in person was pretty
yeah,
special. Like
yeah,
the match was not good because Kurt was in a lot of
yeah,
pain and Baron Corbin just is
yeah.
Baron Corbin.
Now
But
I also forget.
it was still a great moment to see here
Yeah.
to get to hear and see Kurt Angle say
Now
goodbye in person.
yeah, I forget when this exactly happened on the show. But and also Alexa Bliss being the host of WrestleMania 35, okay, you really had nothing else for her to do. But seeing Hulk Hogan come in was actually it actually startled me. Like, holy shit. And that was literally the very first time I've ever seen Hulk Hogan in person
Same.
was at Mania 35. So how awesome. But honestly, my highlight of the night was just Elias giving us performance before. And again, this is the first time ever I see him in person was John Cena as the Doctor
Basic thugonomics. Yeah,
Thugonomics.
I jumped out of my chair for
Oh my
basic
god.
thugonomics. Yeah.
Me and a couple of people that I was sitting with, we were literally singing along to Basic Thugonomics because it's like, holy shit, what is this? What is this? But yeah, I was like really confused with like the Babe calling them shots, and then after they show that, then I hear that I'm like, no fucking way, what? So, but anyways, this little fanboy moment there.
Oh yeah, I
Finn
love that
Balor,
moment because I'd never seen thugonomics either, so that was pretty
I know.
cool.
So, also Finn Balor taking on Bobby Lashley. That was a good match. I was just happy to see the Demon
Cool to see the
finally.
demon. Cool to see the demon. The match did not have enough time because we had to waste a bunch of time on Batista and
Yeah,
Triple H.
and then here's where I'm about to go a little bit crazy here. So, firstly, the winner take all triple threat match on paper was amazing. Although I was still a little bit pissed with why the hell did you have to write Charlotte Flair into this damn botchery? But anyways, that's beside the point. But firstly, seeing Joan Jett perform Bad Reputation, I
That was cool.
squealed, uh, really hardcore because I fucking love Joan Jett to death. But what got me is like the night. While it seems like it was a long match, it actually just felt a little short to me. I don't know if I was just, just getting tired or whatever, that it's just like so much that happened that this match seemed short. But, and I'm going to say this to my grave, that Ronda wasn't pinned. If
Yeah,
you
she fucked
watch
it up.
the replay,
No, you're right.
Ronda was not pinned.
She fucked it
I
up.
know you're saying I'm right, but I'm just saying to everyone out there, Ronda wasn't freaking pinned, and nobody bothered to bring that up because I could clearly see her shoulder was up. Becky wins, and that honestly was the moment that kind of ruined it for me. With that match was, I knew Becky was going to win it regardless. I wouldn't have minded that. Had she probably pinned Charlotte, it would have been better. But
you had to pin. You had to pin Ronda. You just got to do it right.
Yeah, like I was.
You gotta
just
pin.
like
You gotta pin Ronda. Ronda has to. Becky has
okay.
to be
Or
Ronda
honestly,
Rousey.
if Becky had made Ronda tap out, it would have been
Yes.
better. So that's why I was like, wait, why are you rolling up her for a pin and then you win? It's like, wait, what? It just seemed rushed to me, and the match was 21 minutes long. Like I'm literally like reading the wiki here. It's like if they had so much time, why the hell they had to end it on a roll up? So, anyways, oh and yeah, and as we said earlier, leaving WrestleMania was a nightmare. There was no Ubers around. The transit wasn't running over there, and I had to text my friend to like, hey, I'm really sorry. You got to come pick me up because there's no Ubers around. But at least she was able to make a quick $20 to help these guys out getting to their hotel. And apparently, I read that. I think you mentioned that Brian Zane said that most fans were there until 4 in the freaking morning.
Yeah.
Because they. So yeah, that is probably going to be the last time, as of now, that we will see WrestleMania host in New Jersey, unless they go to Yankee Stadium, which I actually would not mind.
Yeah.
At least that'll be the one thing I'd be cheering for at the stadium.
All right, so we are to number.
Sorry, after all that, it's your turn.
Well, my number 5 is a match that happened a match that happened was already on your list, and I was at this arena the night before. It is WrestleMania 20. I thought it was just
You were there?
No, I mean I was at the arena the night before for the
Oh.
G1 Super card. But yeah, this was a good card. It's like I said, just a really. This is when you could really start seeing them making like WrestleMania really solid from top to bottom. You had, the main event. Objectively, the main event was still a phenomenal match. Just unfortunately, it's got a giant asterisk next to it now. But you have
again, like putting that aside,
yeah,
it was a great match.
Yeah, you have Eddie and Kurt, another great match. Undertaker, Paul Bear, all coming back. You have the Victoria versus Molly Holly match with, apparently Molly suggesting they do that so she could have a memorable WrestleMania moment. Just so much stuff going on, so much good stuff going on. It's a pretty solid show. There's some like lame undercard matches because this is the era of getting everybody on the card. But if you're wanting to make a spectacle out of 20 years of WrestleMania, this is how you do it.
Personally, now that I think back from it, I don't get me wrong, the Eddie Brock match in No Way Out was amazing, but that actually could have been your WrestleMania match.
No, you didn't.
Eddie Goldberg also could have been interesting.
You needed to do. I will say, because I was going to get to this topic. You had to do Lesnar Goldberg at WrestleMania. Yeah. That was a dream match.
The problem was many people knew that both these guys were leaving the company, one to pursue a failed football career and the other one to do jock shit.
Well,
that's when fans they just didn't give two shits because they were both leaving.
Yeah, but they didn't know that Lesnar. They didn't know Lesnar was leaving until like a week before the pay-per-view. Like that's how.
Again, that's what kind of takes the great atmosphere away.
But I'm also saying this. That was a week before. So had Lesnar not been leaving then, and would have been sticking around, it maybe would have had a better atmosphere. I get what you're saying, but like that's something that nobody had any control over, and you couldn't. You had to do this match at WrestleMania. You couldn't do this.
And also
that was not a match you waste at No Way Out.
But yeah, for Goldberg's first WrestleMania too is like I kind of just it felt like he got like cheated a little bit here because again like
He only signed a
sorry
1-year contract.
the true enough, but the rivalry that he had ongoing with Triple H and the rest of Evolution was honestly like pretty damn good, and it could have led up to WrestleMania 20, and then Goldberg at that point would probably decide, hey, maybe I can continue this for like another year or two or so. But yeah,
Yeah, you're giving Goldberg way too much credit there,
true.
but
All right,
it, it
fair
it's
point there.
it's no, that was
Yeah,
a match
but
that was that was the dream match when Brock Lesnar debuted. Everybody compared him to
yeah,
Goldberg. That is a WrestleMania match. It's just
yeah.
unfortunately they didn't give a shit, and Brock decided he was going to leave
Yeah,
way
and
too
also
close to time.
last and a few more things that I really I know like this is probably just creative stuff here, but I can't understand. It's like, hold up, Brock, you lost the WWF champ, you lost the WWE championship to Eddie. Rather than pursuing a rematch, you rather go after the guy who kind of interfered in the match, going after Goldberg. Like, really? Don't you want to fight Eddie one more
Yeah.
time? And then I don't know. That's just my logic. But then again, I'm just giving credit where it's way overdue on, or not overdue, just way too much credit on the creative team. But Eddie and Kurt still had a
No,
pretty good
that was
match.
Paul Heyman on SmackDown today. That was actually not bad creative then.
Oh, never mind then. So,
But yeah, still
and also, why the hell was Stone Cold the special guest referee?
would have him involved. He had a name value. People still want to see Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Then just have him do like a Piper's Pit. I don't know.
That was the second.
Actually, ironically, we'll be getting to that soon.
Yep, because we're to number 4.
Well, number 4, the Mania that happened right after 20, WrestleMania 21. I almost thought I was gonna put this higher up on the list because firstly, like WrestleMania at the Staples Center. Sorry, I am not calling it Crypto Arena at all, but WrestleMania going to the Staples Center at long last, rather than freaking Anaheim. Just the match card is just awesome here. So firstly, you got a great opening contest between Ray and Eddie, which would later transpire to just one of their best rivalries they had. You had the very first Money in the Bank ladder match. Funny for a guy that invented the concept, has never won it himself. Ha ha. But Edge winning it was great, and then captivating his cash in on John Cena later on. Undertaker, Randy Orton had a pretty awesome rivalry. Trish Stratus had a match with Christy Hemme because reasons. Kurt Shawn had a
Christy
great
was in
match.
Playboy and Trish was the champion.
Okay. Big Show having a sumo match because reasons. John Cena winning his first of 16 title reigns, beating JBL, and of course Batista Triple H with a damn great main event there. So yeah, if you really want a Mania to go all Hollywood, you had a really, really epic match.
And I think you're forgetting the best match on the card.
And what would that be?
Kurt Angle and Shawn Michaels.
I said Kurt and Shawn had a great match.
Yeah, I mean...
Yes, I completely glossed over it. Yep, sorry.
So...
Anyways, your turn.
My number 4 is WrestleMania 24. I really like this card. I didn't think there was a bad match on the card.
Sorry, just going to go mute for a moment, but I am listening.
Great matches all up and down the card. You have CM Punk winning his first Money in the Bank ladder match. You have the emotional retirement of Ric Flair, because we're just going to pretend TNA didn't happen. You have so many other great moments and great matches on this card. You have a classic main event with Undertaker and Edge. You had a shock of the century, which at the time, I didn't hate Orton as much as I currently do. And was happy to see him beat, at the time, 2 of my least favorite wrestlers in a triple threat match with Triple H and John Cena. Just, again, not a bad match on the card. And you had one of the best celebrity matches ever with Big Show and Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather, you want to talk about, there's very few celebrities that get what to do in wrestling. Floyd Mayweather is one of those who got it, and he got it well, and knew his role. He played a chicken shit heel. which is like you wouldn't expect a guy like Money Mayweather to do that, but he understood how to work a match and how to work the match to his strengths, and that's how you do it. So kudos
That's
to Money
interesting.
Mayweather there.
This was a period when I was actually like, this was my second time getting back into WWE, and it conveniently happened during No Way Out. Big Show returns and he's fighting Floyd Mayweather. It's like, oh shit, Mayweather, Big Show, let's go. And again, this was at a point when I thought Floyd Mayweather was awesome until I discovered, you know what, he actually is a bit of a douchebag. But anyways, I was almost gonna put WrestleMania 24, but I'm just gonna leave that as an honorable mention. But
Yeah.
yeah, as uh, for me, like the Michaels Flair match is just one of my
Oh
favorites.
yeah.
It's emotional. It definitely, it's probably at my, you know what, if I had to pick honestly my best WrestleMania matches, that is at my number 2. And I'll reveal my number 1 is when we do a list of that.
Yes.
But
I don't know if we
yeah,
can do best WrestleMania matches because to me it would just be like 6 or
or
7
just
Shawn.
like our favorite WrestleMania
Well, it
matches.
might be 6 or 7 Shawn Michaels matches, and I don't think that'd be fair.
Fair point. But no, 24 was like, it was great. I think what kind of just got me to not include it on my list is just the fact that they had a stupid tag team between, what was it, like Beth Phoenix and Melina against Maria and Ashley Mazzaro, all because Maria's on Playboy, Santino was being a douchebag, and then you have Maria and Snoop kiss. It's like, okay. And of course, Kim Kardashian's there, which is automatic. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, I don't let
And
that's just part. That's just you gotta. I'm not
yeah.
condoning it, but like
And
at the time, women's wrestling wasn't. We didn't have the
wasn't
women's.
taken seriously.
We didn't have the women's revolution yet. So
No.
unfortunately, that's just how wrestling
Yeah.
was, and luckily
Also, didn't it,
they've come
if
a
I'm not
long way
mistaken,
since then, and
yeah,
I don't think that one stupid celebrity throwaway tag match ruins the
no,
card
Be-
because they all did a good
no,
job
because at least
despite of that.
because Snooki did that to us for WrestleMania 28, or was it 27? No, it's
Seven,
28.
seven.
Oh, 27. Okay, never mind.
But we are to the top three now.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so for my number 3, it was going to be my number 1 until I just made like a last minute change, and it's going to be at WrestleMania 31. So this was the third time that I got back into WWE. Like, keep in mind, like I did follow it from time to time, but this is when, you know what, I'm gonna watch this. I want to see how I can get back into this, and it it blew out of the park. Honestly, like it was just amazing. Like you had a great battle royale, Big Show winning it, and honestly, just a great pose with Andre the Giant. And then Daniel Bryan in the ladder match winning the Intercontinental Championship. That's just incredible. Randy Seth Rollins with a great match and honestly just a great finish in general. Triple H and Sting, where we literally go through a time warp. Again, just I liked it. Obviously, a little bit questioning about why the NWO is saving Sting, but it's like, well, who cares? I thought it was cool. And of course, I freaked out with it. Uh, the tag team match between AJ Lee, Paige against the Bellas, I just, the more I ask, the more questions I'll just get into deeper. John Cena Rusev was honestly a great match, and it would have been better had my stream that I was watching had not cut out at the worst timing ever. We're literally, by the time I fixed the stream, Cena had won, but hey, this was before I even wanted to give money to the WWE network, but I was in college and I was kind of low key failing at saving my money, but that's beside the point. And then because I forgot the amount of matches or the match order that was happening, I thought Undertaker Bray Wyatt was not the penultimate main event. As a matter of fact, it was. And then, of course, you have the heist of the century. And for me, this is, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and say it. This is my favorite WrestleMania match. Like, Brock Roman was just being a really, really piss poor, Brock just throwing Roman everywhere. And, of course, coining the phrase Suplex City bitch. Which, hey, to this day, I think it's catchy. And then Roman just looking like it's overpowering. And then just when you think, we're going to have somebody, Seth Rollins comes in, cashes in Money in the Bank being the first and currently the only person in WrestleMania history to successfully cash in and win uh, their championship that they desired. And it just blew out of the park. You know, the moment you hear Rollins' music hit, everyone was like confused, and they see him running with the briefcase. I'm like, he's not. He's not going to do it. And he does. So that is just, I was literally like in shell shock that that happened. And everyone just went home with just like the greatest smiles on their faces. Like, holy shit. Nobody could have possibly expected that. So again, that's why like I almost wanted to put it at my number one. But for me, it has to be like each match had to have been incredibly special. So that is how I kind of critique on, what was the best.
Yeah. So my number 3 is one we've also already discussed, and it is WrestleMania 30.
Hey.
We've already, kind of went through everything, but again, not a bad match on the card. Bryan and Triple H, the Shield and the New Age Outlaws, and Kane. Cesaro winning the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal back when we thought that maybe that would mean something. Um, Wyatt and Cena was a good match for all intents and purposes. Wrong guy won, but still good match. The the huge shock of the streak ending, but still the fans loving Daniel Bryan enough to care about his main event, and the to me the one of the most satisfying conclusions as a fan, not really just of the whole story going into it, which was in jeopardy, but the whole following Bryan Danielson Ring of Honor and being very, very worried about how he would be used when he got to WWE. Um, all the issues that happened when he was in WWE, not just not being included in the Royal Rumble, but having his match bumped off the card at WrestleMania 27, and then 18 seconds at 28, and then finally like it was the wrestling equivalent of when the Broncos finally won the Super Bowl. All those disappointments sucked, but like it's all okay and it's all worth it because you finally got that one big special moment. It's like, yeah, that's you're fine living through 18 seconds knowing it would lead to this. You're okay with the match being bumped off the card because it led to this, and it's no one can ever take that moment away. And with Bryan being probably just right underneath Shawn Michaels in my all-time favorite list. Doesn't get much better than that. And the fact that I didn't, he literally like beat two of my least favorite wrestlers and made like probably my number 2 least favorite tap out. Like, fuck yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we are down to the top 2. What is your number 2?
All right, so even before doing this, like I was kind of going back and forth. I was like, is this really like the best one? But it's like it literally could have been my number one, but one match ruined it. And I'm gonna get into depths about it. And I was actually literally just watching a YouTube video about it. WrestleMania 22. So, firstly, Big Time is probably one of the stupidest taglines you could ever have next
I
to
love that.
the most stupendous WrestleMania.
I loved it.
Like,
It gave us Peter Gabriel, man. What the hell is wrong with Big Time?
anyways, so 22, just every match was just honestly pretty epic, except for one. For one, I had Big Show Kane against Carlito and Chris Masters because yeah, that was a tag team. Firstly, I actually thought Big Show and the Kane as a tag team is just amazing in general. Rob Van Dam winning Money in the Bank. I mean, you can't get any more hardcore than that, which is still awesome. And then for him to have probably one of the best John Cena, or actually in this case, the best anti-John Cena matches you'll ever witness in your life. JBL against that guy. It happened. Then, of course, Edge McFoley in probably one of the greatest hardcore matches you'll ever watch in your life. And Booker T and Sharmell taking on the Boogeyman happened because, well, it happened. But then again, hey, you know what? I love the Boogeyman. He is amazing. Then you have, personally, in my opinion, the greatest women's match, periods. I mean a periods. Mickey James and Trish Stratus for the women's championship. This was just it didn't just hit out of the park or even like it took a grand slam. It literally took Dynamite into the home plate and blew up the entire baseball stadium because that's how damn amazing this match was. And it's sadly Trish lost this match, but also, this really kickstarted Mickey James's incredible career, going from psycho fan to becoming women's champion. And frankly, like at this moment, this is when Mickey James's pinnacle career and eventual Hall of Fame legacy is going to start with her incredible match against one of, actually not one of, the greatest of all time. Screw you, Charlotte Flair. It will always be Trish Stratus. And we're really just like halfway through this. Undertaker Mark Henry had a pretty decent casket match. And Shawn Michaels against Mr. McMahon, probably one of my favorite HBK matches because that match is just awesome. And you could also thank this match for the rebirth or the eventual rebirth of DX, which, again, that part could have been a lot better. One of my favorite triple threat matches, because literally the first DVD that I got that was WWE related was 619, the biggest little man of the Rey Mysterio. And one of his matches was this incredible triple threat match. Had it not been trying to dangle the Eddie Guerrero thing in the air, it honestly could have been a lot better because Randy really had to create one of the worst lines in history, which I'm not going to repeat on here. And then you have John Cena, Triple H. Honestly, like, not really the most memorable John Cena match you could think of, unless you were there or actually saw this match all the way through. Sorry, but it's just one of those matches where it kind of happened, but I think it's like the wrong man kind of won. I think Triple H winning the championship would have been great. And also, Chicago was kind of anti-Cena before CM Punk completely made him and made Chicago anti-Cena. And then again, I was going to save this for last. The one match that completely ruined this entire pay-per-view for being number one. And I get it at the time. This was unfortunately when, WWE just really wasn't taking the women's contendership seriously. You had a goddamn Playboy pillow fight match between Tori Wilson and Candice Michelle. Like, that match is why it's at number 2. Because if it wasn't there, this would be your number 1. So, yeah. But in no disrespect to Tori and Candice, they're amazing fighters. But we don't need a fucking Playboy pillow fight at fucking WrestleMania.
All right, so my number 2
This is why
is
Just Us Marks goes 2 hours long because of me.
my number 2 is WrestleMania 19. It was again like it was one match away. Kind of similarly, it was one match away from being the being my number 1.
Actually, on my original list, that was gonna be my number 7.
It was just from top to bottom, damn good card. You have, you mentioned Trish Stratus. Her triple threat with Victoria and Jazz was great. You have Hulk Hogan and Vince McMahon having a match that was better than it had any right to be. You have one of my all-time favorite matches. Pretty damn close to my all-time favorite match. Shawn Michaels and Chris Jericho completely stealing the show and living up to the hype. You have Stone Cold Steve Austin's final match against The Rock, where it's not great, but when you find out that Stone Cold Steve Austin almost died the night before, you appreciate it more. And then it also being the last time Stone Cold wrestles, the last time for this classic rivalry. And then you have the main event with Kurt Angle and Brock Lesnar, where Brock Lesnar almost died, and if he didn't have the neck muscles he would have died, and then still having enough wherewithal to come back and F5 Kurt Angle to make the match finish look good. I said, it's almost the perfect WrestleMania except for Triple H beating Booker T, and that is the only reason that it stays. That is the only reason that it stays at number 2.
Yeah, that was not good booking. But
No,
and honestly, media should go back to Seattle. Like, come on, like they. I mean, it's now T-Mobile Park, but they have a roof. You can do it. If they were at the Seahawks Stadium, they'd obviously be freezing their asses off because the Pacific Northwest is not kind to weather.
I
But
think I think nowadays WrestleMania is really all about being in warm weather so you can vacation there.
all right, so
Well, let's do some honorable mentions before we get to number 1.
all right, so 23 was kind of like a really good WrestleMania that I loved. And again, before he ruined politics for me, the Trump McMahon hair match was actually just low-key was entertaining. I also liked 25, despite some people thought, oh, stupid and Kid Rock, taking up all the entrances. It's just because he's performing. It's like, listen, like Kid Rock may be dumb, but it's like, yeah, just let him have his fun, whatever. And 19 again was going to be in there. And that is pretty much it on my end.
All right, so I have quite a few that deserve it.
Actually, I was almost gonna add 10 because we were watching that together for our watch party, which is like, yeah, it was entertaining.
Yeah.
And Brent Owen had a great match.
So for mine, we have some of these. My honorable mention are just based off of one match, but we have WrestleMania 5 when the Mega Powers explode. Not the greatest match, and Randy Savage just kind of would have been all right him just losing this one time, but he always lost to Hulk. But still, great build up. A build up 1 year in the making. So WWE can do long term storytelling when they want to. 6 with Hogan and Warrior, probably Warrior's one of his best matches. WrestleMania 8, the first singles match for Shawn Michaels at a WrestleMania. Bret Hart, Roddy Piper, Ric Flair, and the Macho Man. Good stuff there. WrestleMania for me it jumps all the way up to 18. Hogan Rock. If we were doing top 20 WrestleManias, 18 would be like maybe 12. Um, 21 just based on kind of the significance of that with John Cena getting his first world title win along with first Money in the Bank, Shawn and Angle, Eddie and Ray, just good stuff there. Hold on because my screen went 22 for all the reasons you said. Just good show from top to bottom. That maybe
Minus.
that'd be probably like my number 11 if we were doing
I don't think I'm going to
top
do a
20 match.
WrestleMania, a top 20 WrestleManias because there were definitely some WrestleManias that were not great.
Yeah, well,
yeah. And also, we're going to say the worst WrestleMania.
I got a couple more. 22, for that. 25, just basically on the back of Ricky Steamboat being awesome and without question my favorite all-time wrestling match happening at that one with Michaels and Undertaker, and also 26 with the conclusion to Shawn Michaels' career because we're not counting the Saudi show. Those are my honorable mentions.
Yeah. Okay, so before we say what is the greatest WrestleMania, what do you think is the worst WrestleMania they ever made?
It would either be 11 or 32.
32 is mine because why nothing went right. And don't get me wrong, I know there was like a lot of like injuries that were happening. Like everybody was getting smacked with the injury bug, worse than anybody in the NFL. But you still could have put on a better show. And Ambrose Brock could have been better, but it was like a 10-minute.
You could have just not have Roman Reigns in the main event when nobody wanted him there.
Oh yeah, or actually even better, Triple H just winning the damn match.
Or how about Triple H just not being in the match and Roman Reigns being not in the match and doing something like put Ambrose in it, or I don't know. There's a lot of different things. But as bad as we say that is, WrestleMania 11, probably worse, honestly.
What happened in 11? I'm not.
You had Lawrence Taylor versus
Oh,
Bam Bam
yeah.
Bigelow,
Never mind.
which,
Never
which,
mind.
which
I know what
actually
the main
was
event is, and yes.
which actually wasn't a bad match, but just like everything else was bad. Like Bret Hart was in a mediocre match. Like you got to know things are bad if Bret Hart is in a mediocre match.
Yeah, Bob Backlund going,
Yeah. Shawn and Diesel was the match of the night, and it was not their best encounter either. So, yeah, it was not good. But
Well,
yeah,
then again, it was taking place in Hartford. Oh,
it was kind of WrestleMania 11 is the embodiment of like why the WWE was not doing very well in 1995, despite having some of the greatest wrestlers of all time on their roster.
yeah, I was born in '95. Watch it. I'm just kidding.
All right, so what is
All
your number one? And I'm gonna see if it overlaps for both of us.
I feel like it kind of is.
All right, what's yours?
WrestleMania
Yep,
17.
it's WrestleMania 17.
Yep.
The
I
greatest
was just going to say, let's say it at the same time. WrestleMania 17.
say at the same time. It is obviously
Yeah.
WrestleMania 27. Um,
So again, this was going to be close to my number one, or I would probably troll you and say, I think WrestleMania 2 was epic. You have, how awesome is that? You have 3 different venues hosting WrestleMania at the same time, and people bored out of their fucking minds.
to be
You know,
fair, those first two WrestleManias, they didn't know what it was. Like it was just kind of an event. You know what I
true.
mean? Like,
Yeah. But anyways, WrestleMania 17. I mean, what more can you say?
yeah, there's nothing we can say that can do it justice. It was the peak of the most profitable time. It was arguably the two biggest wrestlers ever, in their prime at their peak. Having
So the ending could have been better, but
I like the ending. Like that. You want to talk?
Some people say like it's either the best or it's the worst Stone Cold moments, because it's like no one could really take a bad guy Stone Cold.
Yeah, I agree with that. But like him
with a guy that you've been giving so much hell to.
Yeah, I agree, and with that, but I mean, also on the flip side of things, it's like him just the build up to that match of I need to beat you. I will do whatever it takes to, like, all of that build up made it make sense, and it wasn't. It's one of those. It's a bad call in retrospect, but like at the time, you're like, okay, this makes sense. Like he has to do like the way Austin was going crazy. Like I need to beat you. I have to win. I have to win the title.
Steve did beat The Rock in another Mania that was okay-ish.
But this was with the added thing of
Stone Cold I wasn't born in the Attitude
Era. Yeah, Austin was out for a year. He'd just come back that October. Like it was.
Wasn't it to save the alliance, or was
no?
it?
That was bad. This is after that, but
never mind.
They have the best. They have arguably, not even arguably, they had their best encounter. In the Geek book, it's a 5-star match. You also had, on other parts.
We're just getting started with this one.
Yeah. You had TLC.
I mean, AEW could put on like they will always say, we're trying to make tag team wrestling a complete pinnacle of who we are, and they will always do that. But nothing.
This was the height of the WWF tag team division. You had, you had
greatest Canadians ever, Edge and Christian. They had the Dudleys, they had the Hardys, and just Edge spearing Jeff in midair is how nobody died is a mystery.
Kurt Angle was in a phenomenal match on the card. You had the hardcore title match. You've actually the women's title match, Ivory and China was like when China was at her peak. Like that was good stuff. Like it was there is nothing bad about this show. This was the peak.
Now,
you could argue this is the peak of pro wrestling.
And as raunchy as this storyline was, but Shane fighting his dad in street. Oh my God. And frankly, and I seriously wish there'd be some sort of footage out there without copyright bullshit, but watching Linda stand up and just completely kick his husband right in the cojones that is probably going to be the most satisfying moment you'll ever see before we even had the TLC and the no disqualification match.
Yeah.
Okay, can we
Undertaker,
seriously just do like a watch party of
Undertaker.
this for our next episode?
Well, we might have to because it's the
We
greatest
gotta.
thing that ever happened in wrestling potentially. At least in WWE. It did. This has been hyped up by so many other podcasts. There's nothing that the two of us are going to say on this that's going to make it seem any better. It was the peak of wrestling.
This was the peak of the WWF before they had to get the F out.
I mean, this was like seriously, like, to me, my favorite year in wrestling was 2000. And like, I know this was in 2001, but like, this was the lead up and this was the fallout of everything that happened in the year 2000. Everything that had been being built up, and there it was. And it was the end of the Attitude Era. It was, like, there's a lot of people that say that wrestling will never get back up to that point. And again, I see what they're saying. And it's not me saying that I think that anything else that's happened since then in any company, New Japan, AEW, Ring of Honor, WWE, whatever, has been poor. But when they say that nothing gets higher than this, I definitely see where they're coming from.
And it's interesting to point out because 2001 was my favorite NASCAR season, despite what had happened at that Daytona 500 with Dale dying in the crash. It was still honestly a great season. That was just my personal peak NASCAR year, or maybe the Jimmy Johnson dynasty run. But anyways, yeah, back to here. Like, it's just one of those like, what more can you say? Like, we're not trying to appeal to someone who's never watched wrestling, period. But if you want to know probably what is the best time to watch or just like get introduced to wrestling, is definitely WrestleMania 8 or 17.
Yep, I can agree with that. But
sadly, that was also the pinnacle to how big the Astrodome was before nobody gives a shit about him.
Huh? Well,
hey, how about that? A double whammy, a peak for the WWF and a peak for the Astrodome.
Well, what? That's just our opinions, though. Let us know what your top 10 favorites are in the comment section below. If you enjoyed, please give it a like, share, subscribe for more content, not just from the world of pro wrestling, but from the world of comics, gaming, anime, and all things geek culture. Follow me on my social media pages, facebook.com/athleticgeek9, Twitter athletic_geek9, Instagram @athleticgeek9, and if you'd like to help this channel out financially, I'm on Patreon, patreon.com/athleticgeek9. EZ, what is your social media?
You can follow me at Eric Zarins at ErikZarins. I will tweet you then.
All right. Well, thank you all for listening. Let us know your favorites, and we'll see you next time.